I'm Starborn. Remember, to be a star, you have to shine your own light, follow your own path, and not be afraid of the darkness, because that's when stars shine brightest. If you've been looking at my website, starborninstitute.org, you already know that the title of tonight's show is An Enemy Attacks. So that sounds rather ominous, doesn't it? But we are now in the month of October. It's October 4th today, and October is certainly going to be a month of change. And that is because both of the fall eclipses occur in October. In fact, in 10 days, on October 14th, there will be a solar eclipse in Libra. And then on October 28th, 2 weeks later, there will be a lunar eclipse in Taurus. And so eclipses have an effect over a 6-month period of time. So there can be a longer range change that is being instigated this month. And it begins with an enemy that attacks now. In fact, they may have started or planned their attack already, and now I think they're going to do it. And so it's either just happened or it's going to happen right now. And the reason why is that we have Mercury today, the planet of the mind and of good problem solving, because it's the ruler of Virgo and it's in Virgo. It also rules Gemini. But it is at the 29th degree of fate today. And so that means it's entering Libra. It's going to leave and enter Libra. So we could get some rather fateful news right about now. And it could involve some sort of problems that people have been having with their jobs or their health or with their future in some way, or with problems that have just reached a sort of a crescendo and they have to be addressed. Because I think it's going to be all about the vindictive, jealous, envious, cruel attitude of somebody, perhaps a woman, who is really out to get all they can out of an old partnership and destroy a new one. And that is because, and their motivation is financial. So I'll explain that. First of all, we know that by tomorrow it will be the Sun, Mercury, and Mars, which are all in Libra. Libra rules partnership, and it rules the law and all legal contracts. And that Mars, which is a planet of war and anger and greed, is exactly conjuncting the unlucky south node of the moon. Mars is at 25 degrees of Libra, so is the unlucky south node of the moon, which generally, since the moon rules women, that the nodes of the moon generally represent, the south node of the moon does anyway, a very quarrelsome, jealous, vindictive, cruel person who certainly, since this is happening in the sign of Libra, can be out to ruin a new partnership. Remember, Libra opposes Aries, and Aries is the sign of new beginnings. And these planets are all opposing that sign right now. So they could have the motivation of wanting to attack or destroy a new partnership that's just sort of getting off the ground or just beginning. And at the same time, they can want to get as much as they can out of some old, tired, worn-out partnership. And the reason why it could center on money is because Mars is one of Scorpio's rulers. And Pluto, the other ruler of Scorpio, is in Capricorn. It's at 28 degrees, and it is almost exactly squaring Mars at 25 degrees of Libra. And Scorpio rules credit, debt, taxes, loans, insurance, inheritance, grants, or money coming from any other source. And so an enemy attacks, and their motivation is financial. And it could have something to do with power as well, because Pluto represents people in upper management or in power in large corporations, government agencies, or institutions. And so the motivation is financial, and it can simply be that someone is deciding that they're sort of out to get what they can. And it's based on their greed. It's all financially oriented in one way or another. And so they may have been in an old partnership that was really based on their greed or their financial ambitions. And as that ends and a new one begins somewhere else, they could want to destroy the new one and get as much as they can out of the old one. And this could extend to people that are in sort of high positions, even leaders of countries. And so that is something that we need to watch out for. And if you think that an enemy is not attacking right now, then keep your ears tuned to the news, because I just think that it's already started, and that they will strike as hard as they can in order to, particularly since it's financially motivated, in order to get more money. Because that's what they wanted in the first place. And so the question arises, will they succeed? And I think that ultimately they will fail. And the reason why I think they're going to fail has to do with a cumulative effect by different groups or different situations that are operating on their own in different ways. And it is this culminating effect of how good they are at what they do or what situations prevail that will ultimately defeat the enemy. And so let me give you some examples of what I'm talking about. One way the enemy can be defeated is ultimately, in other words, I think that there is a fierce attack that's going to happen. I mean, that could hurt. That's why you should try to stay away from angry people or people that you suspect are pretty greedy right now, because they're willing to attack. And so one reason that can be, their attempts can be foiled successfully eventually, is because younger people can be very effective and more agile, more technologically adept, and quick thinking. And whoever the enemy is, they're older, they've been around for a while. And yet younger people can be, 1 or 2 or 10 steps ahead of the enemy. And as they work at that, as they do what they love doing, they're going to succeed. And they're going to do it 10 times faster than the enemy can respond. And so they'll be successful and contribute significantly to the ultimate failure of an enemy who's attacking now. And why? Because the moon is in Gemini today. And Gemini rules youth and rules a lot of young people. And that moon in Gemini is trining the sun, and tomorrow Mercury and Mars and that unlucky south node of the moon in Libra. And on top of that, those 4 planets, the 3 in Libra and the moon in Gemini, are all trining Aquarius, the sign of the future. So the future is somewhat in the hands of young people who they're really up for new things, and they're quick-minded, and they're technologically adept, and they could have a very good reason, a good motivation. After all, their future is at stake if the enemy wins. So they have a lot at stake. And that can be their motivation to making sure that the enemy does not win. And so that's going on right now, and that is a good contributing factor to the ultimate defeat of an enemy. Another thing that can defeat an enemy eventually is reduced circumstances. Okay, so this isn't involving one particular age group. This is involving everybody that is working in the economy or dependent upon the economy, and it can be the economy of just an organization or of a country or of the whole world. But reduced circumstances mean that there's just not enough money around, or that somebody, perhaps the enemy, has taken a big gamble and lost. And the reason why anybody who's gambling could be losing right now is because Venus is in Leo, and it is squaring Jupiter and Uranus in Taurus, and they are both retrograde, and Venus is close to an exact square to Uranus. Uranus is a malefic planet ruling unexpected change and sudden change and volatility. And because it is late in the sign of Taurus, it is being subruled by Saturn, the Saturn that rules Capricorn, large organizations, and so and people's careers. And so it's simply that somebody, and maybe somebody in a high position, has sort of lost a gamble, or they will lose it, and the result will be reduced circumstances. In other words, the budget's not going to quite cover everything anymore. And so there can be problems with that. In other words, if you're attacking and you probably need the money to do it, and it's sort of not around as much as it used to be, that could defeat an enemy as well. You see, it's a situation, but it's a situation that can contribute to the defeat of an enemy. Simply because they've been gambling and it hasn't been paying off, and it doesn't look like it's going to pay off either. And that's career-wise as well as financially. And then there's another thing going on that is going to contribute a lot to the ultimate failure of an enemy who is attacking. Okay, so we can't get away from the fact that they're attacking. But will they succeed? Ultimately, no. They won't. And that is because there are a lot of planets that are retrograde right now, 5 of them, and they're in 1/2 of all of our charts. Pluto is retrograde in Capricorn, that rules careers and big organizations. Neptune and Saturn are retrograde in Pisces. That rules, among other things, it rules dreams, but it also rules covert activities that are hidden behind the scenes. And those planets are searching for answers because they're retrograde, and that's what retrograde planets do. And then Jupiter and Uranus are retrograde in Taurus, which means that a lot of people are rethinking their investments, or there can be a downsizing or sudden fluctuation and change in the investments, and so it can also influence the income. And so there are people right now throughout the world, because these 5 planets that are retrograde are happening in everybody's chart, no matter where they live. It's happening everywhere, and that is 50% of all the planets in the heavens. Going backwards, searching for more answers, realizing that things are not the way they used to be, and having to come up with the truth now. Okay, and so that means that one of the other reasons why an enemy's attack can fail is because people are, as they learn more information and as they are affected by the changes that are going on, particularly the 2 eclipses that are happening this month, they're quite capable of changing their minds. And so what that means for the enemy is that the enemy is somewhat well aspected to lose steam. Their fervor and their greed, that can lose steam. It isn't that the enemy has changed. It's that the people around the enemy and the conditions, particularly the economic conditions around the enemy, have changed. And so their attack can lose steam. It can lose support as people change their minds. And ultimately that will lead to defeat too. So the defeat of the enemy can occur eventually because of the success of different situations or different factors or even different age groups that are responding to the attack. So it's some kind of an attack that the world's going to hear about because Mercury today is at 29 degrees of Virgo, and that's the degree of fate. So the facts are really going to come out. Virgo rules facts. And so they're going to come out, and Mercury's going to go right into Libra. So the enemy might be attacking now. But let's wait and see what happens under the solar eclipse in Libra in 10 days. Who knows? And maybe it'll take a long time for situations and people and different groups to have an effect because they're all sort of operating independently, but cumulatively there goes the enemy. They won't make it. And that will be a relief. Okay, what does this mean to all 12 of the sun signs? Aries. Well, Aries, for you, you're going to have to be real careful. Actually, Aries, you need to walk on eggshells. You need to plaster a smile on your face and not say one mean word to anybody, because your sign is taking a big hit right now. You're really facing a challenge, Aries. Yes, Venus is in Leo is still trining your sun, which means you have some friends that really like you, and you're popular. But as far as you being able, and your sign rules new beginnings, as far as you being able to get a new beginning off the ground right now, that's going to be an uphill battle, Aries. You might succeed, but it's going to be an uphill battle, because it's you that might have to endure an enemy attacking. And that's because, say, as of tomorrow, when Mercury comes into Libra, there will be the Sun, Mercury, and Mars, your own ruler, Aries, conjuncting the unlucky south node of the moon and opposing your sign. And so Mars and the unlucky south node of the moon are at 25 degrees. They're exactly opposing the lucky north node of the moon at 25 degrees in your sign. You have to be real careful right now, Aries, that you don't lose a friend. But on the other hand, you really need to have your guard up, way up. And I think you should have a couple of ways to guard yourself, because the aspects are so harsh to your sun sign right now. And the reason why is that there's another planet that's harshly challenging your sign, and it is Pluto in Capricorn, which is squaring your sun sign. And then the Sun, Mercury, and Mars, and the unlucky south node are opposing your sun sign. You are vulnerable to defeat right now, Aries. If you don't step back, count your blessings, and try not to do too much this week. But if you're going to do anything, protect yourself. And I would say you need to hunker down, or you need to just step back, or go on vacation. Something where you can try to get out of the line of fire. And so that would mean, since Aries likes to work in sort of an impulsive, quick way, that you need to slow down, Aries. Really. I mean, this is a week when speed kills, and you really need to slow way down. And so, Aries, I would suggest that you take a vacation, or, take the load off. Just rest for a week. You don't have to tell anybody. You can go do that. Maybe you owe yourself a rest. That way you might be able to avoid people that would be quite disagreeable right now. And I mean, it could be that you're not even doing anything and they could be disagreeable. And so you need to watch out and pick your moments carefully, Aries. But if I were you, I would avoid contact with a lot of people right now. And so the best way to do that is maybe go on vacation. Or just, close your doors and decide to just stay home and rest or enjoy yourself for a week. But it would be the whole week that you'd better be real careful, Aries. And if you have any suspicion that there is somebody that is malevolent or does not have your best interests at heart, you would be exactly right. And that is why you should avoid them at all costs. I mean, unless it's a life or death thing, I would avoid anybody that you think is antagonistic or greedy right now, because they are. And so be very careful, Aries. Live to fight another day. And you might have to do it by just laying low right now. Now, that could be the best thing for you to do. Take it real slow. Okay, what does it mean to a Taurus? Well, Taurus. This is a time, Taurus, when everybody has got to be prepared for change this month. And one good reason why you need to be looking for a change, or you could be anticipating one already, Taurus, is because there is another eclipse, the fourth one, in your sign in the last 2 years. There were 2 eclipses in Taurus last year, and there's 2 eclipses in Taurus this year. And so your life has gone through change, Taurus. I mean, it would be it would be almost impossible for you to look over this year and last year and think that everything has remained the same, because it hasn't. There has been change. And so on October 28th, at the end of this month, there will be a lunar eclipse in your sign at 5 degrees. And that will certainly bring some sort of change, and it could be in a relationship that you have in some way with another woman. And it could be any other woman. I mean, it could be your boss, it could be a good friend, it could be somebody in your family, it could be a classmate, whoever it is. There's going to be a change, because under a lunar eclipse, it means that the moon opposes the sun. And so one woman goes and another woman comes under a lunar eclipse. And so we could see that somewhere in the world. And in one way or another, that could affect you, Taurus. Hopefully it won't affect you directly, but it might. You could be anticipating change in your life. And you know, there still is a grand trine in the earth signs. It is today, but it's not going to continue as a grand trine. And the reason why is because as soon as Mercury's at 29 degrees of Virgo today, and it's trining your sun, so you could get a sort of a last minute clear answer to something or news that is very definite and clear. And you could be getting that right now, Taurus, because Mercury is trining your sun, and it's at the 29th degree of fate. But it's leaving, and then there won't be any planets in Virgo. And so that breaks up the grand trine in the earth signs. However, you still have Jupiter and Uranus in your sign, but they are retrograde, meaning that something regarding your money or your career or your property has got to be reevaluated and redone. It might be due to high taxation, which you might not want to be paying anymore, or it could be due to increased maintenance costs that can be very expensive. Whatever it is, Taurus, there's going to be some sort of change in your life, and that's regarding money as well. And then Pluto in Capricorn is still trining your sun. It won't be for much longer, though. It's on its way out of Capricorn, and it's going to move into Aquarius, where it will then begin to square your sun for decades. And so there's somewhere in your life there's going to be a power shift or a power change. And it could be around you, maybe not to you, but around you. But it would be something that would affect your future in one way or another. Not necessarily bad, but it would prove to be somewhat challenging for you as the change occurs. Because it wouldn't be the old status quo, it would be something new. And you'd have to adapt to future changes. And this will go on for years, as soon as Pluto goes into Aquarius and then begins to square your sun. Pluto's a real slow mover. It's not anything that's going to happen overnight, but adapting to it might happen overnight, but adapting to the change could take you years. But that's all right. Taurus is a very good hard worker, and they like their creature comforts. And you have been sort of on a roll, Taurus, while this grand trine has been holding. And so as of tomorrow it will leave, because Mercury's going to leave Virgo and go into Libra. And so that will sort of take off some of the good fortune that you have been enjoying. But that doesn't mean that you are going to enjoy something bad. It's just that you're going to have to adjust, I think, to some sort of diminished circumstances in one way or another. Or maybe you're going to have to take a step back in your career. That could be possible. Oh, but it could be for a very good reason. So that's fine. Okay, what does it mean to a Gemini? Oh, Gemini, the moon is in your sign today. A lot of light on you, Gemini. But also, it's the right kind of light, because it could focus on your talents, Gemini. And, you know, Geminis are known for versatility and adaptability and being flexible and doing things in a sort of a temporary or short-term way, and being excellent communicators, because your sign rules communication. All kinds of communication. I mean, it rules advertising and promoting and marketing, and it rules journalism, it rules the media. Fine. The reason why you can be enjoying increased acclaim in one way or another right now, Gemini, might even surprise you, because your sign has been under severe duress while planets in the other mutable signs, Virgo and Pisces, have been sort of opposing each other and squaring your sun and the Sagittarian sun. That's been a little rough on you for the last month or two, particularly for the last month. But now, with the moon in your sign, and tomorrow it will be trining the sun, Mercury, Mars, and that unlucky south node of the moon, and also those planets and the moon in your sign will be trining the sign of Aquarius as well. That accents your future, Gemini. Your future is looking brighter than you think. Now, that doesn't mean that any of us are going to get away from an enemy attack. I think it's going to happen. And it will affect us, even if we are on the sidelines reading about it or hearing about it. Or it could be a natural disaster, but no, Mars rules war and greed, and it's right on that unlucky south node of the moon. I mean, how often could that happen? Once every 18 years, maybe. See, it takes the nodes of the moon 18 years to get through all the signs once. And there would be no guarantee that Mars would be there at that time, that it's in a particular sign. And so, but it is now. And it's in the sign that rules the law. It's in Libra. But you know, all those planets trine your sun, Gemini. You may be able, with your excellent communicative skills, to be able to help in some way with the defeat of an enemy who's attacking out of greed and cruelty. I mean, who likes that? Nobody. And so you might be instrumental in some way or another. You know, Geminis are very agile. Their brains just move around in and out of a lot of different things. And that is something that is probably going to defeat an enemy right about now. I don't mean the defeat is over. I think the attack is coming, or is underway right now. I think it's already been planned, and it's just a question of being out there. It could happen today. But Gemini, you could be instrumental in ultimately defeating an enemy in your own way, just in your own way. You could do it. And every little bit helps, Gemini, so I hope you speak up and offer good advice to others, because that's what people need. They're going to need somebody who is thinking pretty quick on their feet about how to get out of a bad situation. And so that's you. You could think of that. Good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Cancer? Well, Cancer. This is a time, Cancer, when the planets are building up in cardinal signs, and yours is a cardinal sign. There are 4 cardinal signs: Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. And so, Cancer, you could be affected. Well, I think you will be affected this month, particularly by the first eclipse, which is a solar eclipse 10 days from now on October 14th in Libra, because Libra is a cardinal sign. But for right now, gee, Cancer, you're going to be involved in one way or another, or even challenged by somebody who's out for greedy. Their motivation is greed, and they want to prevent a new beginning from occurring, and so they want to get as much money as they can out of some old partnership or some tired old relationship, and they're going to put the squeeze play on that. And you could be affected by that, Cancer, in one way or another, or challenged by that. And the reason why is that as of tomorrow, when Mercury moves into Libra, it will be the Sun, Mercury, and Mars on that unlucky south node of the moon that are all squaring your sun, Cancer. And then Pluto in Capricorn is opposing your sun. Okay, so do you see that's 4 planets that are in harsh aspect to your sun sign? And so Cancer, yeah, just like Aries, you need to step back and concentrate a whole lot more on something that you sort of have your heart set on. And you might not have told too many people about that. Maybe you didn't tell anybody. But you have something that your heart is set on. And it could involve a dream that you've had for a long time. Because there is a way out of your dilemma, Cancer. And it is because Saturn and Neptune in Pisces, which is another healing water sign, are trining your sun. And they will be for the next couple of years. You're very lucky that you have that strong support continually. But it rules things behind the scenes. And it does rule dreams. So I'm thinking that you have a fond dream somewhere, Cancer. This would be an excellent time for you very quietly to work on it. And if you haven't told anybody about it so far, well then don't. Just keep working on it. If it involves somebody else, you ought to tell them, for heaven's sakes. But that could help shield you from the challenging circumstances that are around you right now, Cancer. And I don't know if the attack would be on you, but it could be near you. It could be near you, Cancer. Or it could involve people you know. And you know, somebody that you know in your life already, Cancer, has a deep-seated financial motivation based on their own greed. And that greed has been long-lived. It's been around for a long time. You may not have suspected that of somebody long ago, but you're going to be able to see it real clearly now, Cancer. And they're not your type. And also, this is just a signal that you need to hold on to what's yours. And still work on that dream, which can offer you a respite and a way to go into your future and perhaps get away from the challenges that you're facing now, which are sort of old challenges. In other words, if you're facing a challenge right now, Cancer, you've known about it for a while. Or you know what the conditions or the policies or the decisions or what the management is doing, or you know what the law is. You may have to stand up for yourself as far as that goes, because somebody wants the money and they're going to do anything they can to get it, and that means if they don't get caught, that's fine with them. But it could hurt you if they're not caught. And so, you know, if you don't think you can beat somebody, maybe you can help somebody else that can beat them instead. Or else, for your own satisfaction, as far as your future is concerned, stick with the dream. Because that's what is continually supporting you. And it is aspected for success. And it's going to take a while because Saturn is a planet of time, but it's going to be successful. And that would be permanent success. You know, the kind that lasts as long as you do. So work on that, Cancer, and try to duck away from the people that are trying to challenge you right now, because they don't have very good motives. And to tell you the truth, Cancer, they're not worth it. It's not worth you getting involved. So work on your future and sort of close the door on your past right now. It's not, you can't relive it. So go forward and good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Leo? Well, Leo, somewhere, Leo, in your love of extravagance and generosity, Leos are very generous, and a love for gambling and sports and horse racing, and, you know, and love affairs. You know, you could have enjoyed those things many times, Leo, in one way or another. But those days are just about over, because a gamble is not going to pay off right now. And it isn't going to pay off tomorrow either. It's just not going to pay off. And the reason why is that Venus in your sign, and it's a very good planet, but it sure is getting ready to leave. It's at 26 degrees today, so it's going to be out of your sign real quickly. But Venus is still in your sign, and it is being squared by Jupiter in Taurus and also by Uranus in Taurus. And Uranus is being subruled by Saturn, which rules Capricorn, which rules upper management in large corporations, government agencies, or institutions. And so if you had been making some sort of a gamble that involved people at a high level in those kinds of organizations, you're not getting, or you've made investments in those kinds of organizations, you won't get the return that you have been anticipating. Reduce circumstances. That's something that's going to help defeat the enemy, but actually it's something we're all going to have to learn to live with as well. There's too much debt in the world. And Leo, it would be very surprising if a Leo didn't have some debt, because they are sort of big spenders. But this is a time when you need to clear the books, Leo, and that means get rid of the debt, because it's going to sink you sooner or later. And it might be a little sooner, because the rulers of Scorpio, Mars and Pluto, are really tied up very closely with some sort of enemy attack that is based on finances. And why is it? Because there isn't enough money around anymore. Okay, so the enemy wants to get theirs as quickly as they can. And Leo, you could want to get some too, but reduced circumstances are what can eventually defeat the enemy, but they are something that can defeat any of us now, because there's too much debt in the world, the prices are still too high, and there are companies that are starting to have mergers and acquisitions in order to save their bottom line, and that may not do it. And so there's all kinds of problems that, sooner or later, didn't you think they all would boil over? Well, they're going to in October. They're going to boil over, and we're going to have to deal with them, including you, Leo. And so there's no other planets in fire signs. You're sort of on your own right now, and your career could change. There could be a serious change in your career. And it would be perhaps that you want to retire. Okay, well that's a serious change, but I would say now's the time. Or it can be that you want to start a company of your own. Well, you could do that, but you'd be on your own. And so it depends on how well you are set up financially right now, Leo. And if you don't have any debt, that would be a shocking surprise. Because Leos, they like to spend. And this is not a time when people are going to be able to afford to do that too much anymore. And so you need to pull in your belt, Leo. And if you know of somebody that is wanting to get as much money as they can out of a former or a current partnership, they're not going to be ultimately successful. I wouldn't back that horse, Leo. That's not going to work. And so you need to think a little bit more of how to conserve your assets, not spend them. So this is a better time to pull back, Leo, if you can. Well, actually, you're just going to have to make yourself do it, because everybody is going to have to pull back and watch their pennies a little bit more closely, because the world is, the world is shaky all around the world. It's not one country, it's a lot of countries. And it's a lot of companies and organizations. And so that's why you need to pull back. And if you wanted to downsize in some way, Leo, or you wanted to, curtail some of your activities because they're getting too costly, then that's a good idea. And it might not be for a real long time, but you got to pull back for your own safety, and that's your financial safety and your emotional and your career safety. You don't need an upper management job. What you need is some sort of financial security that can only come from watching your money much more closely. Okay, what does it mean to a Virgo? Well, Virgo, Mercury is in your sign today at the fateful 29th degree. And so it has been enjoying the grand trine in Earth signs. But as of tomorrow, when Mercury moves into Libra, there will be no more grand trine in the Earth signs. And that is because there won't be anything in your sign, Virgo. And so, you could have been thinking very carefully and redoing or reviewing some problems in your life. And by taking small steps, you could have come up with some pretty good solutions by now, which is good. You could have just said, well, I can only do this much, and if that succeeds, then I'll do this much, and if that succeeds, then I'll do more. And you may have been successful at that, Virgo. You could be in a position right now where you have a very clear idea of a solution to a problem or of a plan going forward that can work for you. And I think that you have been rather clever or very adept at managing your money lately. And let's say over the last few months, while Mercury has been in your sign, because it was in your sign and then it retrograded and then it went forward again, so it's been in your sign for a while. And all that time, I think that you've been doing some good problem solving, particularly about finances, or about your career, or about your investments. And so I would say, Virgo, that now that Mercury is at the 29th degree and it's your own ruler, and it's in your sign today, but for the last time and for a while, I would say this is a good time for you to sum up where you are in your career, because Pluto in Capricorn is still trining your sun, and Jupiter and Uranus in Taurus are still trining your sun, and that means that you need to look at your investments as well, which I think you've been doing. You may be wanting to pare down on some of them and be a little bit more cautious with things, because the planets that are left in the Earth signs, Pluto in Capricorn and Jupiter and Uranus in Taurus, are all retrograde. There aren't any direct planets in Earth signs anymore. Everybody has to go back and re-examine their careers, their health, their long-term plans, financial plans, their jobs. We all need to take a second look, or more, at where we are, and winter's coming, and we have to sort of batten down the hatches, and I think you're going to do a good job of that, Virgo. You may have been tormented and caught in some sort of a position between people who had irreconcilable differences, and you may have been having to wait out a period of time hoping that they would ever resolve them, and they didn't. There is no resolution. And so you could be deciding, well, I need to take care of myself. You would be exactly right about that, Virgo, and you probably have done a good job of that. So congratulations. There is some tension, or what you'd call the monkey on your back. That's not there anymore, Virgo. I think you know which direction you're headed in, and I think you know whether you want to be with somebody or not. And it could be that you're in a really good position to make your own decisions and go forward happily. It could be with somebody else. But you really got your head on, is what I'm saying, Virgo. So congratulations. I think that at last you're in a good spot. When your ruler, Mercury, goes into Libra tomorrow, there will be tension. And there is a solar eclipse that Mercury will be there in Libra during the solar eclipse on October 14th. And that means that you might be starting something new. And actually, you might be starting a new partnership. Or you may be setting up some sort of legal entity that could work out quite well. Not this week, but it could work out in the future pretty well. So just be careful for now. Okay, what does it mean to a Libra? Libra. Libra, this is a time when, your sign rules peace. And somewhere in your life, Libra, there isn't going to be any peace. Okay? In other words, there's something disruptive in your life. Or there's some sort of a threat. And it's sort of close to home. It's around you. Libra. And it could be somebody who's very greedy and wants your money, okay? Or somebody that just wants to one-up you in a career, maybe push you out of the way and get a promotion of their own, and they're willing to do whatever they have to. You know, an enemy who's attacking, that could happen, because Mars in your sign today is at the 25th degree, exactly conjuncting the unlucky south node of the moon. So Libra, you are well aspected to run into an enemy that wants to stop you from making a new beginning. And it could be a new beginning with a new partner. And they do not want you to do that because for one reason or another, there's some financial advantage to having them, to have you stick with an old partner. And this could be in your job and somewhere in your career. And so Libra, since your sign does really rule peace, and I think that is not on the table right now, I think that what you've got to do is protect yourself as much as you can and try to stress your good assets. And one of them is that Libras are very popular in the public eye. And the moon in Gemini is trining your sun. And so you should get out among people that you like or that you know like you instead. And they could be younger people, or they could be people that have a lot of technology skill. You know, they're really up on something, or they're excited about something. You could get in with those people and just be real happy. It's not necessarily that you'd have to have that skill, but you could be around other people that are doing really exciting things right now, and maybe you could help them in some way. They could certainly help you, Libra, and they'd love to do it. So that would be sort of the start of a good partnership, but there's somebody else in your life, and it could be a woman, that doesn't want to see you succeed. And so you got to cut that person out of your life, Libra. Libras aren't too good at that. They want to make things always look nice. But Libra, you know, this is a case of survival, Libra. This isn't a casual choice that you need to make. This is a real important choice that you need to make for your survival. The reason survival comes is because it's ruled by Scorpio, and Mars in your sign is being squared, and it's one of Scorpio's ruler. It's being squared by the other ruler of Scorpio, Pluto in Capricorn. So your career might change, might take a change, Libra. And it could be that you are around somebody, even if they're not attacking you. It could be in the organization you work for. And they want to make sure that things stay the same so that they can get their hands on all the money they want. It's pure greed. And you know, everybody likes money, but greed is not usually associated with Libras. Libra's values have a lot to do with people getting along. Just getting along. You know, that's really very hard. It takes a lot of skill, a lot of good public relations skill to get along with a lot of people, because nobody likes everybody. But still, it's a Libra trait that they are able to sort of get along with a lot of people, even those they don't like, and still work something out. And if you find that you just can't do that right now, then with the solar eclipse coming up in your sign in 10 days, you need to think quick about how to make a new beginning, because that's what a solar eclipse stands for, new beginnings. And it looks to me, Libra, like you need one. And it's to get away from somebody that is just no good for you. And on top of that, they're on the warpath. So you got to duck or get out of their way, Libra. And it could be somebody that you work with in one way or another. Or some group you belong to. So you need to maybe be a little bit more by yourself right now. That might be the safest thing to do while these dangerous aspects are occurring in your sign. Just for your own protection. You know, lay low a little bit, Libra. You will be glad you did. Okay, what does it mean to a Scorpio? Scorpio. Scorpio, this is a time when, since your leaders have been challenging each other for a while now, it means that you can be facing some sort of financial pressures yourself, because as of tomorrow, the Sun, Mercury, and Mars, one of your rulers, and Mars is conjuncting the unlucky south node of the moon in Libra, is also being squared by Pluto in Capricorn, and that simply means that Scorpio, you're somewhat aspected to run into sort of a brick wall right now. You're aspected to run into somebody who's only got their mind on their own greedy ambition. And that's deep-seated. They have had that for a long time. You may not have considered how greedy they have been before, but they have been. And they're even more greedy now, because that Mars is right on top of that unlucky south node of the moon. So it could be a woman. And this is just a time, Scorpio, when you should have none of that. I mean, it's threatening your finances in one way or another. Someone else would like to have the money you've got. Now, maybe they want it because, they think that they're better than everybody else and should have it. And so, greed is compelling them to attack in any way they can. And so somebody is out for your money, Scorpio, and you have to be a very adept negotiator right now, which you can be, but it's still dangerous to have all these planets in Libra right behind your sun sign. And so remember, there's a solar eclipse in Libra in 10 days, okay? And that's different. Mars will have moved on. I mean, it won't be at that 25th degree in conjuncting the unlucky south node of the moon. So if you have to get pretty direct with someone about how the money's going to go, then you'll just have to do that. The Scorpios are not afraid of that. Scorpio is a fixed financial sign. It's a little bit foolhardy for anybody to really want to argue with a Scorpio about money. They shouldn't do that. It's never going to get them anywhere. But anyway, Scorpio, stick up for yourself and defend yourself. But on the other hand, there are better aspects in your chart, and you should pay attention to those. And that it is that, just like Cancer, Neptune and Saturn in Pisces are trining your sun, which is great. And the moon is in Gemini today, but it's coming into Cancer very quickly, and it will be trining your sun too, either tomorrow or the next day. And so, just like Cancer, you need to work on a private dream that you've had, which, since your sign rules secrecy, I'll bet you have not told a single person in the whole world about a private dream of yours, Scorpio, but you've got it. And this is the time to withdraw from the enemies of the world and work on that precious dream, because it's going to last a lifetime. It's going to last the rest of your lifetime, Scorpio. And it's more important than anything. And it will be to you. I think it's more important than anything to you right now. But it's going to grow. As long as you work on it. Set it up. Get it together. What are you waiting for? Outwardly in your life, you're undergoing a lot of pressure. You just got to sort of withdraw a little bit and work on what will make you happy. It's either that or give people the money that they want. Well, why would you do that, Scorpio? They don't deserve it. Why would you ever reward greed? Scorpios actually are not greedy. They're just excellent money managers. They're not greedy. And so, no sense in rewarding blatant greed. You've probably done that in your life before. Well, don't do it anymore, Scorpio. You still have a life to live. The future. The future is there in front of you. Go for it. And turn your back on the people that they are really yesterday's news. And they're not going into your future. They just want to hold you back. Don't let them. That's all I'm saying. Don't let them hold you back. Go forward toward your dream. Because it involves the rest of your life. And that's precious. So give it your best shot. Okay, what does it mean to a Sagittarian? Well, Sagittarius, this is a time, Sagittarius, when you can still, just about for the last time, benefit from Venus in Leo trining your sun, because it's coming to the end of Leo. It's about to leave. And so it won't be trining your sun anymore. And there's nothing in your sign or in Aries. And so, Sagittarius, the good news is, and for you and for Gemini, is that as of tomorrow, after Mercury moves into Libra, there will be no planets in Virgo. So there won't be anything squaring your sun from the sign of Virgo. And then there will just be Saturn and Neptune in Pisces squaring your sun. So you really have to watch out for people who are not what they seem to be behind the scenes. In other words, imposters, people who are faking things, or people who are lying about things, people who are peddling their influence. You've got to stay away from all those people because they're not good for you, Sagittarius. And so, try to do the best honorable thing that you can do right now. Or if you want to take a long-distance trip, you could do that, and that may get you away from an enemy that is attacking. I mean, we're not all going to get attacked physically ourselves, but an enemy is going to attack. And in one way or another, it will have a residual effect on all of us. And so it's up to all of us to see that that enemy is defeated. And Sagittarius, you have a very bright mind. It's an intellectual sign. And so I think that you should just sit down and gather as much news as you can. Sagittarians really read a lot of news. They know what's going on in the world because your sign rules international organizations and higher education and the courts. And so this could be a time when it might behoove you to spend a little bit more quiet time researching and getting information that will be of great use to you in the future. And so in that way, you're sort of turning your back on people that are very undesirable or not good for you. And you need to get away from them, Sagittarius. And people with irreconcilable differences, they're still around. But they're not out to harm you unless you get in their way, and then they would harm anybody. And so that's why you need to be real careful of who you're around right now, Sagittarius. Look before you leap. And stay away from anything that looks even a little dangerous or shady, because it could be right now. And you don't need that in your life. So good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Capricorn? Well, Capricorn. This is a time, Capricorn, when push is going to come to shove in one way or another. And that is because Pluto in your sign at 28 degrees is almost exactly squaring Mars in Libra at 25 degrees today. And that Mars is sitting right on top of the unlucky south node of the moon in Libra. And that is putting you a little bit too close to somebody who's unlucky for you, Capricorn. And it has something to do with a financial matter. It could be having something to do with credit, debt, taxes, loans, inheritance, insurance, grants, something where there's money coming in one way or another. And there's somebody around you right now, Capricorn, who, the financial situation is something that they hope will benefit them, and they don't care whether it benefits you or not. And why are you sticking around? If somebody's got an attitude that you're disposable, or that your opinion doesn't matter, or all they want is the money and nothing else. But that's not really your type, Capricorn. You want to know why? Because Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. And Saturn, in its highest goodness, rules respect. The kind of respect that you earn the hard way from doing your job and being sincere and being reliable you know, that other people can count on you. That's important to a Capricorn. A whole lot more important than the greed of somebody else. So, Capricorn, just try to be as selective as you can right now about who you want to do business with or who your friends are, because maybe they don't share your high values. So why would you bother sticking around them? You would not have that much in common, because your values are important to you. And they pretty much have been all your life. You know, that's not a new thing. That's how you live. And so you need to be around other people that share your values. And there's somebody around that doesn't right now. And they're just greedy. They would be willing to attack anybody, even you, just to get money. And so you need to be more selective, Capricorn. Just, you know, don't waste your time talking to a whole lot of different people right now. Try, first of all, to find the ones that have the same values you do. And then you can talk to them, because then you'll have something in common. So give that a try. The reason why I'm suggesting that is because the first solar eclipse that occurs in 10 days in Libra squares your sun, so there could be a partnership or a legal issue coming up that you have to decide about. But the second eclipse, which is a lunar eclipse on October 28th at 5 degrees of Taurus, it trines your sun. So your values are going to be somewhat rewarded by the end of the month. And that's why it's so important to stick with people that share your values, not the ones that don't. So that's why you need to be more selective if you can. Good luck. Okay, what does it mean to an Aquarian? Well, Aquarius, an enemy certainly is going to strike. And, you know, Aquarius, I'm not so certain that they're going to strike you, but they would try anybody that could give them more money now. Anybody. And so it's because they're so greedy, and their whole motivation is a financial motivation. And so, Aquarius, it's somewhat lucky that there are a lot of planets in air signs, and yours is an air sign, that are trining your sun. And that they will continue to do that. When Mercury moves into Libra tomorrow, it'll be the Sun, Mercury, and Mars, which is in a little bit of trouble. It's causing trouble right now because it's sitting on top of the unlucky south node of the moon in Libra, which means that there's something wrong in a lot of partnerships right now, or legal matters. And so those planets, those three planets, are trining your sun, Aquarius, and today so is the moon in Gemini. See, it's a trine of the lights. The sun is in Libra, the moon is in Gemini. That really benefits you, Aquarius, because your sign is the third air sign. And so there can be a resolution for you of some sort of legal matter that has been going on and on and on, and involves dealing with a woman that is just greedy. And, you know, somehow, since I know that even if an enemy attacks now, I think they'll be ultimately defeated. And when that happens, Aquarius, you could benefit. You could benefit by help from younger people right now. You could benefit. And you could benefit long-term from a legal decision that is made in your favor. And it could be if Mars would just get out of Libra, or else stop conjuncting that unlucky south node of the moon. But right now we are in a position where there's going to be an attack somewhere. And yet I don't think that you are necessarily going to be hurt, Aquarius, unless you ask for it. And that is because there are three planets in fixed signs. Venus in Leo is opposing your sun sign, and Jupiter and Uranus in Taurus are squaring your sun sign. So there can be a financial matter that you would want to fight about right now. You know, you could get sort of bruised if you do that, Aquarius. I do not think the timing is too good for you to be fighting about money right now, because your ruler, Uranus, is squaring your sun, but it's in the last decan of Taurus, which is sub-ruled by Saturn. And so Uranus is one malefic planet, and it is being sub-ruled by another malefic planet. That's not good for money, because it's in a fixed financial sign. and Taurus rules investments. There is the possibility that there are quite a few investments that are going to go belly up. You know, they're not going to pay off the way people thought they would. Because there's too much debt and the money's not there, or there are people such as an enemy that attacks right now who are just purely greedy. And they'll take anybody's money away from them. And so, Aquarius, it would be sort of good if you were around younger people that are pretty savvy, and they could teach you things or help you in one way or another. And that could help you perhaps head in a new direction in your future, and your sign rules the future, and that would be better for you than getting in some sort of irrevocable fight about money. I urge you not to do that. There will be no winners. So don't ask for it, because if you're not winning, then you're losing. Why would you ask for that? Don't. Just move on. Realize you have a bright future. Might need a little help from other people to get you there, but you do have a bright future, Aquarius. That's what you should be focused on. Okay, what does it mean to a Pisces? Pisces. This is a time, Pisces, when, just as I've been telling Cancer and Scorpio, the two planets that are in a water sign right now are in your sign, Pisces, and they are there for the long term, in other next couple of years, and that is Neptune, your own ruler, and Saturn, which are in your sign, but they are retrograde. There are 2 out of 5 planets in one half of all of our charts that are retrograde right now, meaning that they're going back and they're uncovering the truth about a lot of people or a lot of things that had been hidden behind the scenes. They also would have the effect on you, Pisces, of allowing you to see where you had been kidding yourself. You know. And they could also be making you want to examine your long-term values and the kind of people you want to be with, and pretty much who you want to be with for the rest of your life. And you could be thinking very seriously about all of that. And the way that you could be doing that is you could be comparing what you want in your future, and you could be comparing that to what you've had in your past. Okay, and they're not measuring up. And I don't think you want to go back to your past, Pisces. And the future is going to be better for you. The phrase, the best is yet to come, that's the truth. You know, believe it, Pisces. For you, the best is yet to come. Well, then you got to be headed in that direction towards your future, not stuck in your past. It's not going to do you any good anyway. And so this is a time, Pisces, when, since there aren't any other planets in the water signs, when you pretty much have to make your own choices. And, you know, yours is a double-bodied sign. I suggest you have a real heart-to-heart talk with yourself. And ask yourself or ask your heart how you feel about people. Or how you feel about your future. Or what you really wish you were doing. Maybe it's a lot different than what you've been doing in the past. But, you know, it's quite true that as we go forward on the road of life, sometimes we change gears. We don't all have to be going real fast. It's okay to slow down at times. And maybe you're in a mood where you feel like you want to do that. Well, I think you probably could. Your own ruler is in your sign. That's offering you tremendous strength and wisdom and protection. And so is Saturn. And so all you need to do is look deeply in your heart and ask yourself what you've cared about for a long time and whether it's still worth it. And just realize that whatever you've really, or whoever you've really cared about for a long time, if they fit in your future formula, which is that the best is yet to come, then that's the direction you should be going in, Pisces. Because your future could give you something that you haven't had yet. And it is the best and happiest time of your life. And that could be going from now until forever. So you could go on a road that is way different than the road you've been on, but I think it's going to be a better one. It's going to sort of fit you just right. Your sign rules the feet. You know, you should try something new on, Pisces. It's going to fit you just right. I know it is. And that's what you should go for. Because that'll make you happy. Remember, the best is yet to come. All right. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm sorry this got to be a little bit long. But I know that we're running into dangerous times now. We will get news about an enemy attacking fiercely. But will they really succeed? I don't think so. Due to individual circumstances or groups that are changing or doing their best, and cumulatively that is going to defeat an enemy, and that'll be just fine with all of us. So good luck, everybody, and until then, I'll see you next week. Remember, you can subscribe to my Karen Campbell YouTube channel, and I'll be happy to send you the show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. And I hope you tell your friends about that too. And if you want to know a little bit more about the theme of the show, you could read my blog every week on my website, STARBORNinstitute.org. And until then, I'll see you next week. Bye.